All right, hi, this is your quick explication of The Convergence of the Twain by Thomas Hardy. In the first stanza, you'll notice that it's comprised of 3 lines. That's a terse set, and if the syllables go 8, 7, 13, it's supposed to mirror the tides of the sea going out and coming back in. So if you read the poem, you'll notice a lot of nature or sea imagery, especially with the iceberg, and so that was purposeful of Thomas Hardy when he was writing the poem. In the first stanza 2, we have an allusion to the 7 deadly sins with vanity and pride, and mentions of the boat lying low at the bottom of the ocean. In the second stanza, we have reference to the steel chambers, which fueled the fire to move the boat forward, but now they are literally quite submerged below the ocean, and the cold currents kind of wafting through the steel chambers, creating this sort of rhythmic tidal layers. Is very reminiscent of a funeral. In the third stanza and the fourth stanza, we see man-made items like opulent mirrors and jewels that were designed to stun and to wow people. These things are no longer useful, as they lie lightless at the bottom of the ocean, being crawled upon by sea worms and things of that nature. So if you look at the juxtaposition between the opulence and the grotesqueness of the literal as to what Hardy is drawing, it really brings about this ironic sense that what was once elite or meant for the very rich, the sophisticated, is now lying and being interacted with bottom feeders. Essentially. So you can kind of draw a comparison there. The first 4 stanzas of this poem are very critical, very distant. There's no sympathy at all for those who lost their lives. It's very cold and shows exactly the position that the boat is in at that state after hitting the iceberg and sinking. And so you can understand that when Hardy gave this this poem and he read it aloud at the charity banquet, not a lot of people were thrilled with his craft, just because it felt so disconnected from the grief that those were feeling. In the 5th stanza, we do get perspective, though, and this is of a dim moon-eyed fish near the bottom of the ocean, gazing upon these lavish items and asking the question, what is this vaingloriousness down here? What is this doing? This question posed by the fish is supposed to humble humanity, whereas we know that Titanic was known as this unsinkable vessel, that it was almost like a man playing God, in a sense, with its creation, and so its lavishness served sort of as an idol to people, this sort of epitome of human achievement. And with the fish posing this question, a dim-mooned fish, one that is at the bottom of the ocean, like it really humbles humanity by that question. We get the shift with the answer to the fish's question. While it was fashioning this creature, the boat, cleaving wing, the imminent will, that being God or fate, was who stirs and urges everything, prepared a sinister mate, that being the iceberg, for the boat, so gaily great. And again, you can look at the so gaily great as both in relation to the iceberg and in relation to the Titanic. A shape of ice for time and far and dissociate. I posed the question, what happens when man tries to control nature? And most answered that man cannot control nature. We lose. It's not a good outcome for man. And so This is one that shows that nature has always been there. Nature has the power to create, but also to destroy. In stanza 8, we have that comparison again between the ship and the iceberg, both growing, the ship in fashion, stature, grace, hue, and the iceberg too kind of like ominously growing amongst the waves and the water. In stanza 9, we have them coming together again. They seem to be foreign, right? No mortal eye could see the intimate welding of their later history, again, because it was unsinkable. That naive thought, like nothing could sink this ship. We highlighted the last line there for symbolism, as the welding, not only do you need to weld pieces of metal together to create a boat, but when the boat and the berg came together, it welded the collision, and then also it welded Titanic's place in history, because no longer, you can't think of just the Titanic, you have to think of what the Titanic's fate was, and therefore the Titanic and the iceberg are welded together in history. In stanza 10, we have again this irony, no mortal eye could see, or the sign that they were bent by paths coincident, again relating to the unsinkability of the ship, which is irony, and they're both two twin halves of one august event, this almost prepared by omen event. So we're focusing more on, or Hardy is starting to bring attention to how the Titanic and the iceberg were sort of meant to be together. And he does that too here in his word choice with prepared. It's kind of predestined. Until the spinner of the years said now, that's a metaphor kind of for God. We've got the syntax with the now, short and immediate. And each one hears. We not only heard around the world the news of the Titanic, but those unfortunate people on the boat too also heard the collision. And consummation comes and jars two hemispheres. So the bringing together of both the berg and the boat there at the end with this sort of marital term kind of solidifies their place in history, that they were meant to be together. And the jarring of the two hemispheres, not only did it shock those around the world, but it also brought together the above and the below from the waters, as we saw in the beginning of the poem, with the bottom feeders and the fish kind of now interacting with what was once human possession. So the message here we see, not to be prideful, right? That dangerous emptiness of human vanity. We also see themes as like playing God never works out in man's favor, that pride could be the downfall of man. The themes, obviously we see power of nature and the power of the unseen too. And I hope you like this poem. I hope you understand a little bit better now. If you have any questions, more than free to ask.